Good morning. My name is Richard, and I've got a little thought for today, for Wednesday, the 18th of January, based on Psalm 81. Now, I think you'll recognize some of this, but let me just read it to you from the NIV version, and then we'll have a little reflection on it. So here we go. Sing for joy to God our strength. Shout aloud to the God of Jacob. Begin the music, strike the tambourine. Play the melodious harp and lyre. Sound the ram's horn at the new moon, and when the moon is full, on the day of our feast. This is a decree for Israel, an ordinance of the God of Jacob. When God went out against Egypt, he established it as a statute for Joseph. I heard an unknown voice say, I removed the burden from their shoulders. Their hands were set free from the basket. In your distress you called, and I rescued you. I answered you out of a thundercloud. I tested you at the waters of Meribah. Hear me, my people, and I will warn you. If you would only listen to me, Israel, you shall have no foreign god among you. You shall not worship any god other than me. I am the Lord your God, who brought you up out of Egypt. Open wide your mouth, and I will fill it. But my people would not listen to me. Israel would not submit to me. So I gave them over to their stubborn hearts to follow their own devices. If my people would only listen to me, if Israel would only follow my ways, how quickly I would subdue their enemies and turn my hand against their foes. Those who hate the Lord would cringe before him, and their punishment would last forever. But you would be fed with the finest of wheat, and honey from the rock I would satisfy you. Well, there we are. That's a strong voice, isn't it? And, of course, the Hebrews took no notice of that. They turned away from God to follow other gods as they moved into those other lands, and they were extremely unloyal and unfaithful to God. And we read a bit about what happened in the Old Testament, in Kings, etc., where they were led to follow other gods. We remember Baal, Asherah, and Amalek, and the dreadful practices that went on in their worshipping them, and also those sacred trees they spent a lot of time under, with terrible things like ritual prostitution and sacrificing their children to these gods. So it was an awful period in the Hebrew history. And I suppose you could put it all down to idolatry. They were seduced by turning to other gods or making idols of them and inanimate objects and worshipping them. And that's the theme, isn't it, of much of this story, is about the Hebrews turning to idolatry. And we make a lot of that these days. We talk about idol worship, and generally we turn to things like materialism, don't we? We talk about idols that we have now, sort of new cars parked on our drive, or other material things that seem to occupy our time. But maybe it's how we spend our time that is the more important point. And you may have come across Dallas Willard, a great theologian and philosopher, who wrote quite a lot about this, and in particular struck the theme of, distraction is the greatest enemy, and hurry and rush. And he said the famous line, you need to eliminate ruthlessly hurry, get rid of hurry. And then John Mark Comer, you might have also heard of him. He wrote a book all about that and called it The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And his thesis, the same as Dallas Willard, was that we turn away from God not to worship other idols specifically, but just because we're so distracted all the time with our huge busyness and just endless things on our list to do. And that's what really turns us away from God. So I think the lesson that we really take from this psalm is is not to be distracted from God. Listen to God and hear his voice, and don't occupy every minute of the day with our material needs and all those other things that go on buzzing in our head. So I think that's the message that I'm trying to sort of get to today. And we all need to really concentrate on making time, don't we, to listen to God. He should be part of everything we do, not just reserved for an hour on Sunday, and practicing some sort of solitude or quiet times quite definitely each day is perhaps a way to make that happen a bit more. So for me, I like to have an early morning quiet time, just reflecting on the day. Sometimes, of course, the to-do list does encroach on that, and you start to make lists and tick things off. But really, we should be concentrating on, are we listening to God and hearing his voice? And I would just like to sort of turn this on to a piece in Psalm 46, which is, be still and know that I am God. That's a very well-known piece that perhaps we just need to remember that sometimes. So that's my message for today. So have a great day, but don't get consumed by your busy schedule. Just find time for God to listen to that voice sometime during today. Thank you very much. God bless you.